From high atop the State Lake Building in Chicago's Loop, the American Broadcasting Company presents Graffiti, a look back at radio's golden age.
Thank you, Phil Bowman. That's the way it used to be. Will it ever be that way again? Yes, it will. For an hour tonight on Graffiti, the olden days of radio live again, including an old-time radio soap opera. Stay up.
Playback's grand opening.
At the front office.
Hello, all you crazy people, and welcome to Graffiti. If you want to turn down the picture on your TV set and listen to this like a radio show, it's okay, because that's our big deal tonight. The nostalgia of old-time radio, and it really is fun for us to look back to those days. Let's say the 30s. Wouldn't you say those were the golden years of radio? Everyone who's shaking their head in the audience is much older than I. And we're going to recreate an old-time soap opera, and I get a part in it. And you know, as an aspiring young broadcaster, when I started, I got to admit to you, in the 40s, when I was a high school boy and got my first job in radio, there wasn't any TV yet in our part of the world. And I wanted very much to be on soap operas, but by the time I learned how to do it and my voice changed, soap operas were gone. So tonight's a big and important night for me. And a big night for a young man in Chicago who has brought radio back. Please welcome with me, Chuck Schaden. Hi, Chuck. Sit right down there. Chuck Schaden. Chuck Schaden. Who's he? Oh, yeah, you saw his picture in the columns in the newspapers a couple of weeks ago. Right. All the guys who write in the newspapers about radio and television love you.
Well, I think they like the difference that we try to offer to Chicago radio. You know, bringing the soap operas back and the kid shows and the mystery programs of the 30s and the 40s. You know, you talked about being on radio or wanting to get in the radio. You could have had a regular part on Captain Midnight.
Why is that?
Considering the hour of this show.
Oh, I see. Captain Midnight. I always wanted to do that.
Did you ever drink Ovaltine?
Like no.
Well,
is it good?
No.
Is it still in the market?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah. The decoders were great, but the Ovaltine is improved now, anyway.
And for those who don't know, Chuck Schaden is on a bunch of radio stations around the Chicago area, kind of ringing the city with the tapes of the old-time radio shows. And it occurs to me, Chuck, that that's got to be a somewhat temporary career because there are only so many tapes. Many of these shows occurred before tapes were ever made, and that you're going to run out.
No. When I started, I had a dozen shows, and I've got over 22,000 now, and not holding.
You're still finding new material?
Always getting new shows, and I've been on Chicago area radio with this stuff for over 5 years.
Do you think there might be a market for counterfeit old-time radio shows?
You're going to do one tonight, aren't you?
Well, maybe we can, set up in my basement, you and I. We can crank them out on a scratchy old tape so they sound old.
No. Well, amazingly enough, those are not all so old sounding. Some of the quality is good, though some of them have come from the old transcription discs. You know, the big ones that
Excuse me
found
for
in a
just a
dusty
minute.
cellar.
I've got a lady over here in the audience who has a script.
Sound like Dr. IQ now.
I've got a lady in the audience for you, Dr.
Or
Schaden.
silver dollars.
This script is one that you provided. Is this authentic?
This is an authentic script. This is from our hall closet of all the good old radio stuff, and this is from 1937.
December 8th, 1937.
Yeah,
this was actually broadcast on NBC, Red Network, WEAF. What was that?
Well, that was the station in New York.
I see, and it was on that station.
Right.
And it was an episode in the soap opera known as Backstage Wife. Did you ever hear that one? Mary Noble.
Mary Noble.
Bob and Ray revived it.
Mary
Backstage, Noble Wife. And we have brought in addition to Phil Bowman, the announcer who helped us a little earlier, some fine people from the radio days to help recreate this. Vivien Smolen, who is our gal Sunday, Viola Berwick, who was on The Guiding Light and so many other different shows, and one of the great old-time radio people to play the romantic lead, Larry.
Use your imagination with radio.
It's going to take a lot, folks. Stay up for some more Graffiti.
We're witnessing a discovery. The irresistible taste of Arthur Treach's original fish and chips. Ah, that first bite. The superlative crunch on the outside. onto the succulent fresh whitefish fillets and the munch of noble chips. One taste is all it takes. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips awaits you beneath the yellow lantern. Let yourself go!
An alarming number of unnecessary calls to directory assistance is made by just a small number of people. This message is for them. Calling for numbers already listed in the book is an expensive habit. Unfortunately, everyone has to share the cost. Thousands of dollars every day. If you've got this habit and can break it, you'll help hold down telephone costs. When a number isn't listed or if you're handicapped, call directory assistance. But please, look in the book first.
Harold, we gotta clean this place up.
They're your crummy clothes.
Yeah, but your mom called. She's coming over.
Wally, we gotta clean this place up.
Remember, I can't do any heavy lifting.
Nothing heavy about laundry, man.
I don't know how to do laundry. What if I just hide it?
What if you just read the cheer box?
Why?
Well, you want your new shirt to fade like the rest?
No.
Well, then do what the box says. Wash it in cold water. But whites go in hot.
Pants, too.
Oh, no. Permanent press gets warm. That's why all temperature cheer. 3 temperatures, 1 detergent.
Hey, let's not get carried away with this cleaning stuff.
You boys are so tidy. Why, you even did the laundry.
Oh, it was nothing, Mrs. Coleman.
No, Wally, the permanent press. These colors. The whites.
Well, as I've told Harold, Mrs. Combe, you can never be too clean.
All temperature cheer. For the way you wash now, all temperature.
Arco American may save you up to 30% or more on your auto insurance. To see if you qualify, call ES9 4677.
Once again, we bring you Mary Noble, Backstage Wife. The story of a sweet, everyday girl from Iowa who married the world-famous matinee idol, Larry Noble, dream sweetheart of millions of other women, and the struggle she has to hold his love and win happiness in the complicated web of life backstage. Now, I'm going to tell you how to give your teeth clearness, luster, and sparkle, a way that thousands of women everywhere are adopting. What you do is simply clean your teeth at home the way practically every dentist in the country cleans teeth. That is, with powder. You know how your teeth gleam after the dentist cleans them? Well, that's with powder, the way we ask you to try at home. For powder is the way dentists almost invariably clean teeth. They obviously know more about beautifying and protecting teeth than anybody else. When you go to your dentist to have your teeth really transformed in appearance, he almost invariably uses powder to do it. Get a can of Dr. Lyon's tooth powder at any drug or 10-cent store today. Once more united in love and understanding, Larry and Mary have turned their attention to solving the problem of lovely young Alicia Calvert, Larry's leading lady, who, knowing it is wrong and against her better judgment, has fallen in love with Larry, and who, lest she hurt Mary, is seeking escape in gambling and drinking. It is now a few days later. In the Nobles Park Avenue penthouse, we find kind little Mary trying to help Alicia. Mary is speaking. Listen.
And since Larry had to dash off to see Dewey Penrose about that second act set, I'm so glad he sent you over to have tea with me, Alicia. I love having people drop in for tea.
Mary, what a wonderful person you are.
I'm not doing anything wonderful, Alicia.
Oh, I think you are. Here you sit, making gracious conversation, just as though you didn't know that your guest has... Well, as though you
All I know is that my guest is a friend, whom I'm very glad to see.
Why don't you hate me, Mary?
Hate you? Well, I might if you were cruel and inconsiderate.
Oh, Mary.
Larry and I are standing by. We want to help you.
Oh, help me, Mary. Please do. But not Larry. I want so much of Larry. I couldn't bear his pity or sympathy. That's what I ask of you, and you alone.
Alicia, you have that.
Oh, you're so sweet, Mary. You got Larry to insist I come over for tea with you, didn't you?
I asked Larry to send you over, yes. I wanted to see you.
No, it went deeper than that. You knew that if Larry called the rehearsal off because he had to see his stage designer, that I'd be at loose ends and might possibly go out to the racetracks or end up trying to find the solution to all this at the bottom of a cocktail glass.
Well, one of the old playwrights said, a dish of tea and gossip, my, how refreshing. I just thought it might work.
Oh, it did, Mary. I'm glad you asked me to come over.
I'm glad you came. Now, tell me how the play Forever Beloved is coming.
But like the polite nurse in the hospital, Mary, all I can say is the patient is doing as well as can be expected.
Both you and Larry are working much too hard.
All part of the game, Mary. Really, the woman who has 10 children often has an easier time than the actress who has 10 plays.
Well, possibly. Both the mother and the actress, by the time they reach their 10th, are taking things pretty well in their stride.
Oh, you're a marvelous wit, Mary. Why you waste such beautiful bits of humor, I don't know. You ought to write plays. I said to Larry just the other day during a rehearsal, Beth's lines sound just like Mary. Sometimes I almost feel that it's Mary, not Beth, saying those speeches.
Oh, how ridiculous, Alicia.
Well, of course, we don't know who wrote Forever Beloved. But I'll bet if we ever find out, it'll be someone who knows you and Larry, who has studied both of you. For there's some tricks of dialogue that make Larry sound not at all like the part of Andrew, but just like himself.
Another cup of tea, Alicia.
Is that Larry?
Oh, probably. He said he'd try to finish up his conference and join us.
Well, then I'll go, Mary.
Oh, you're very welcome to stay, my dear.
No, it's better for me to go.
Hello, Mary, sweet. Alicia, did you leave me a cup of tea or did you drink it all?
Hello, darling. Oh, you look so tired. Come and sit down.
Hello, Larry. I'm just leaving.
I'm weary. Dewey Penrose is the best stage designer in the world, but how that guy can argue. He spent 2 hours fussing over whether the upholstered chairs ought to be rose and gold or silver and green. I finally told him I didn't care if they were made of cider barrels.
Well, I doubt if chairs made of cider barrels would fit into a room that is supposed to be elaborately French period.
How did you know that the second act was French period, honey?
Oh, I guess you or Alicia or Dewey must have mentioned it to me.
I think I'll run along, Mary. I've got to see the costumer and several other things have to be taken care of.
Very well, Alicia. But if you haven't anything else to do tonight, come over and sit in front of the fire with us. Perhaps I can induce Larry to read poetry.
Oh, I'd love that, Mary. Impossible, though. Thank you. I made plans for tonight. Goodbye, Larry. Thank you for the tea, Mary, dear. Goodbye.
What a peach you are, kitten. Was Alicia difficult?
Oh, not at all, dear. She was sweet. Here's your tea. Just as you like it.
Thanks. Honey.
Yes, darling?
Can you get along until Saturday on $10 to run the house?
I think so, Larry. Why?
We're awfully low on money, Mary.
Oh, I realize that, dear.
You've been an angel about that, kitten. There isn't a thing on your charge accounts this month. There are no bills from the shops, and the grocery and meat bills are surprisingly low. But just the same, the rent and the gas and the electricity go on and
I did my best, Larry.
I had to borrow from the bank, Mary.
And you hate debt so.
I had to have money for Mother's expenses, Pat's allowance, and the monthly bills. Howard McLean, the bank manager, was swell about it. Said he realized it was just to tide me over until the play opens. But it didn't make going into debt any pleasanter.
I'll manage on what you give me.
Well, if you can't get along with this tenor for a few days, well, the play will be open, and I'll be drawing some dough. That is, if it's a success.
Oh, it will be, Larry. I know it will. Don't be angry, Larry, dear, but can't I go back to Uncle Charlie for a few weeks, just to tide us over?
You mean go back to work, Mary?
Well, it's no reflection on you, Larry. And I only want to do it to relieve you of worry until Forever Beloved is bringing us an income.
You gallant little thing. You'd go back to work to support me.
Oh, don't look at it like that. Let it be the two of us working for each other.
No, darling. I just can't let you. Oh, darling, it's a pretty bitter thing to face when a man can't support his adored wife.
But you have. And you will, Larry.
That's the thing that will save me, Mary. You being beside me, believing in me.
And I will be, Larry, darling. Always.
How will this crisis in Larry Noble's career affect Mary? Will she stand beside him to see Forever Beloved a triumphant success? Or will it be a failure? What do you think? Listen tomorrow. You've heard remarks like these. Louise would be a peach of a girl if it weren't for her teeth. Jim has a wonderful personality. But did you notice his teeth? Make sure that people cannot talk like that about you. Clean your teeth the way virtually every dentist you have ever gone to does, with powder. See what happens. Get a can of Dr. Lyon's tooth powder at any drug or department store today. Mary Noble, Backstage Wife, will be on the air again tomorrow at this same time. Your announcer, Phil Bowman. This is the Red Network of the National Broadcasting Company.
Men, while 10,000 last, it's 3 for $100 at MCD. A fantastic group of suits, leisure suits, sport coats, $65 to $145 values, any combination. Now 3 for $100 at MCD. 3 for $100. And slacks, $25 to $35 values. Now 3 for $28 at MCD, home of the 7-day wardrobe.
MCD, where you can save up to 60%. Showrooms in Elk Grove, Oak Lawn, Elmwood Park, Niles, and on Dearborn across from Marina City.
Oh, you got a cold? I need more tissues. Oh, in my new bathroom. Come on. Oh, it's beautiful. Lovely. What a gorgeous box of tissues. Oh, that's Puffs, and it's a brand new decorator box. Oh, it looks great with the wallpaper. Puffs are as soft as ever, too.
Well, I'm not getting a new bathroom. But I am getting some Puffs in this beautiful new box. Not mine.
Puffs in the new decorator box. Beautiful outside, soft as ever inside.
You know, I grew up around horses, and I've always loved the track. My favorite place is Arlington Park. I love to watch a morning workout. And there's nothing any more exciting than a thoroughbred race. Maybe a trip to the winter circle. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Folks around here call Arlington Park the winner. For me, it's the only one. Arlington Park is the winner. Arlington Park is the one.
Look at this. I was an ugly teenager, droopy-shouldered. Even my complexion was drab. But instead of giving up, I learned to work at my looks. And one thing that helps is Camay. Camay is a marvelous cleanser and rinses easily, so my face feels soft and smooth, but not greasy. That's a beautiful way to feel. And when you feel beautiful, you look beautiful. Try Camay, the beauty cleanser, for your beautiful complexion.
This is a rebuttal to a WLS-TV editorial on gun control. The speaker is William Finkler.
I'm not connected with any gun interest group, nor do I relish the idea of giving my opinion on this issue. But I am coming forth as a private citizen to express my views. In regard to your editorial concerning gun control, I feel you are sidestepping the entire crime issue. It is ridiculous to assume that crime will be reduced by restricting the number of guns available to individuals. The least concerning problem which gun control legislation may affect is in the crimes committed between persons who are quarreling or in love triangles. This type of crime is restricted only to the individuals involved. In these instances, motives are almost always present and the case is usually solved. Where crimes involve rape, robberies, and general sadistic violence, there are usually no clues or motives to be found. People committing these crimes will always have the guns, regardless of what steps are taken to remove them from the streets. The real crux of the issue is not gun control, but legislation establishing severe mandatory punishment for criminals caught using guns. I hope that WLS-TV will reconsider its policy on this issue and refrain from continued brainwashing of its viewers. Let's see WLS-TV take some positive practical steps in establishing laws to remove these gun abusers from the streets instead of wishing away crimes through politically popular gun control legislation.
Wasn't that fun? Having the radio drama on, I would like you to meet the players in our radio drama, playing the role of Mary, my backstage wife. Oh, were you good? Is Vivien Smolen, our gal Sunday for 13 years on the radio, and a lovely person. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Our announcer you met earlier, Phil Bowman, who has been a Chicago announcer for many years, but also was producer of Ma Perkins for a period of time. And Vi Berwick starred in a great many things on the radio, including The Guiding Light. And maybe our audience knows Vi best because she was on Don McNeil's Breakfast Club as the Swift something or another.
Martha Logan.
Martha Logan.
I told people for a long time how to separate frozen bacon.
Well,
and believe it or not, people ask me today how you do it.
Do you know?
Certainly.
Never mind about the bacon. That radio script was the corniest, campus piece of garbage I ever saw. I mean, that's not putting down Chuck Schaden. All he did was preserve it. That's the way it was really broadcast back in the 30s. But you professionals brought it to such life that I was watching the people here in the studio who I thought would laugh at some of the absolutely ridiculous dialogue. And you did it so magnificently that they got involved in the little drama. Congratulations.
Tears. Well,
Tears.
I also think that that was the art of the radio actor in those days, to take the kind of scripts one had to deal with and make them real people. This was the hope that you always had as an actress or an actor, to make the person come to life.
Vi, you had different writers who wrote various soaps, or as you called them, serials.
No, they were soaps then. I called the things today serials.
Oh, I see.
No, we were perfectly willing to call them soaps because practically they were all sponsored by soap manufacturers, soap companies.
Now,
that's how they got their name.
If you were going to be in a show by a certain writer, would you know you'd get a different sort of script than from another?
Well, I think, and maybe you people bear me out, I think that depended upon the agency that controlled the show. Now, there was one agency here in town that had at least 5 or 6 shows going at the same time. And possibly, you wouldn't know how big the stable of writers would be. But they got the outline of their story, and then each one wrote it, and it had to follow a certain style and pattern, even though it was a different
Did you have to ad-lib sometimes, or was it all the dialogue always there?
No, you just paused. You learned how to stop talking, you see, because you'd have to stretch your script. There were, I don't know, possibly 9 minutes, probably, that had to fill 15, and that included...
Well, give us an example of how you did that.
Well, they were all doctor shows, you know. Most of them were doctor shows. And I hadn't played this for this particular audience before, so I'm a sort of a racehorse type, you know. I like to get going here. And I was a nurse. And so you go through the deal, and the doctor comes in, and you look and you say, "Good morning, doctor."
Here, Phil, you pick it up with her. Just ad-lib it in.
Good morning.
Would you like to see the patient's chart?
Yes. Is it available?
Here you are, doctor.
My, oh my.
Let me, Mrs. Blake, would you like to have your pillows fluffed? Now remember, the director's off this way somewhere. So I barge in, I say, would you like to have your pillows pillows fluffed, Mrs. Blake? There. Oh, no, that was all wrong. So he said, watch me. So I said, would you like to have your pillows fluffed, Mrs. Blake? There.
That certainly fills time. Vivien, you were Our Gal Sunday for 13 years.
Yes.
Did you begin to think of yourself as that personality?
Not at all. Actually, the only thing was that you, after a while, you began to know what this character would say and would not say, so that when we got new writers or a particularly strange position of words, you would go through and say, oh, she'd never say anything like that. You got to know the character. However, she was kind of a silly, goopy kind of girl, and so I never wanted to be like her.
You never made personal appearances as Our Gal
No, no, we never
walked
had to do
into a
anything
restaurant and let the head waiter know that this was Our Gal Sunday.
No, no. It was just that when you went to visit someone, you were always introduced as Our Gal Sunday. You were never introduced as just by your name.
Did you pause too?
No,
Oh.
we were the other school.
Oh, yes, yes.
And of course, by the time I got to radio in the 50s, a pause could get you fired. You had to keep the needle on the meter moving at all times. No silence on the air. That's when someone turns the dial. So I think it represents the increase of pace of the American style of life.
I think it's a good point. I think back to the person she's referring to who created so many, that is where the term pregnant pause originated.
You're talking about Erna Phillips.
Erna Phillips.
Yeah.
Now, you were associated with so many programs and so many great years of Chicago radio, Phil. And back in the days before tape and disc, most of these shows were live.
Most of them.
Did most of them go well? And tell us about one or two.
There were some that didn't go well. For instance, there were a number of what we call kid shows. Jack Armstrong, Skippy, Little Orphan Annie, Sky King. They couldn't record the show according to the laws, so they would do one show for the East Coast and another one, the repeat, for the West Coast. And it was rather tragic sometimes because very often the actor would forget that this is a show with two performances. And the thing would, they're all ready for the repeat. One actor would be missing.
I would think that by the time you had to do it over again, you wait around and do it over again, that people might tend to get a little bored and they might tend to play tricks on one another, little games and so on.
There are things like that that go on.
Was there great tension or was there great fun in the studio?
Fun.
Which way was it?
There was fun, yeah.
Fun.
Stealing scripts, pages out of order?
Oh, no,
Lighting.
No, they didn't do things like that.
That was usually in the little studio shows. With
And we
a
hear the
couple of
stories about the breakups. Did you ever break?
Once I started to giggle. I was doing a Mr. Keene Tracer of Lost Persons. And I started to giggle. And the man who played Mr. Keene, who was standing opposite me on the other side of the mic, looked at me with such a look that I immediately froze, and it just wiped the grin off my face, and I stopped giggling.
You never got involved in any of that breaking up stuff, did you?
Quite a few times. One of my good friends, and I know somebody that is beloved by everybody in Chicago while he was alive, Franklin McCormick. Frank had one of these, you know him as a great poetry type fellow, but he also was a very funny guy. And he would and we'd have these certain type of microphones that were dead on the sides. He would come up to you, you'd be reading a piece of script, he'd come up, and every time you'd take a break, he'd go, then you'd go around, and on these things would go. And finally, you just couldn't help it. And I remember one time I had a 5-minute commercial on a 10-minute show, and he followed with a 5-minute poetry show. And he went through the usual routines, and that time I was resolved I was not going to break up until he unbuckled my belt and let my pants down.
Oh. Well, what's so laughable about that, Phil?
You should see me with my pants down.
You want to create that great moment of radio on television tonight?
Not tonight.
There are some more great moments of radio to be remembered. I want to thank you lovely people for being with us.
It was a pleasure.
It was a great pleasure to have Vivien Smolen and Phil Bowman and Vi Berwick with us tonight.
Indeed, our pleasure.
Stay up. There's more good fun to come.
There's a world of fun for everyone at Santa's Village. One low admission, all rides are free.
Come on out to Santa's Village. Come on out today.
We will forge ahead. No, we will forge ahead.
He's been practicing that speech for hours. Wish he'd take a minute to notice how nice I got his shirt. It's Downy. He won't notice the softness. Or how Downy helps rinse out static cling. Still, he ought to notice Downey's April fresh smell.
And in conclusion, Joanna, this shirt smells terrific.
You noticed. Now that's a great speech.
The April fresh smell of Downey.
Motor Trend called it the best style car of '75. Road and Track called it the best sports car under $5,500. We call it the Fiat X19.
Remember, step on a crack, break your mother's back. Remember, your boss is coming to dinner tomorrow night and the planter's falling down. No clothes pole, no clean shirts next week.
No garage is complete without Sacrete.
The man who made the sound effects on our radio drama a while earlier was a fellow you probably remember meeting on this program once before, the director of the Chicago Radio Theater, Mr. Yuri Rasovsky. Hello, Yuri.
Hello, John.
You put on regular radio dramas, and one of the things you become expert at is making sound effects. And I just wanted you to show our audience some of these crazy sound effects. Am I now a sound effects man, having done that?
We're going to make you a sound effects man tonight. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a little sound effects drama for you tonight.
Let me just show you how the sound effects man, you know, he's very important for creating the mood. He could ruin the whole drama if the script said bell. And we had a radio drama where they said, here we are at ringside, ready for the World Championship. The fighters are in their corners, and we're waiting for the sound of the bell. I mean, the wrong bell could destroy it.
Well, there's also the case, it's often happened in 40s radio, where the guy said, no, put that knife down. Bang.
Yeah, okay. Show us, demonstrate. Now,
Well,
everybody knows what this is, right?
Well, this is for a midget's bathroom. But when you don't...
What are you going to do? Do it over here, Jerry.
We'll both do it, John. We'll both do it.
Okay.
First off...
Not going to do it. He's not going to do it, folks. He thinks he's in charge here. You know what I mean? You know, you got a director on the program. Immediately he starts directing it. Hey, Yuri.
Hello, John.
I'd like you to demonstrate some of these sound effects for our audience. What are these?
Those? This is a horse. This is a horse. On radio they had, you would hear the only three-legged horses in existence are the ones on radio. All radio horses were three-legged horses. I'm going to cut out my lavalier a second while I show you how the horse goes.
Hail, silver away! The thundering hoofbeats. Not bad.
Something like that.
Okay.
So anyway, you are right now going to go on a long trip.
Oh, I am. All right.
We start off...
I give up. Okay, Yuri, take me on a trip.
Okay, we start off on the train.
Okay.
And then we're going over to a frozen wasteland, John. And we're going to do it on a sleigh.
You mean up to Michigan in the winter?
Exactly. Okay, we need the sleigh bells. You do the bells, I'll do the horse. You're going up to this place, up in the frozen Adirondacks or something like that. Okay, so we're going there in the sleigh, right?
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? Down the lane.
Whoa, Tonto!
Tonto doing in the sleigh. It rings to death.
Now this is a mystery show, so you get there.
It certainly is mysterious so far.
You get there in the dead of night.
Little package just arrived from Ireland.
Right. You get there in the dead of night, and you find that.
Oops, excuse me. Come in.
You find that the only way you can get across is by motorboat, and so we've got to rig you up with the motorboat here.
My motor failed.
You have docked, and now you have to walk in the snow over to the house. A bowl of cornflakes does very nicely for that, too. This is cornstarch.
Very nice.
So you go up to the house,
yes,
and you ring the door, the front door. But nobody's there, so you go over to the side door and you ring that. Nobody's there, so you go over to the back door. You try the basement.
The maid didn't answer?
No. Try the basement. Try the other side door.
Avon!
Well, now you got to try the door to see if it will open.
Oh, okay.
All right. My God.
The door opened. Now I walk through the snow.
Yeah, there's no roof inside.
Into the okay.
But
into the house,
unbeknownst to
and it
you-
turns out I'm in the barn. The horse is standing there. Yes.
Unbeknownst to you, John, there's a miscreant in the house.
A which?
A miscreant.
Yeah.
And he has a bludgeon, and he's waiting for you around the corner.
Okay.
This you think is an ordinary melon. It is not. It is John Coleman's head. And as he goes around the corner...
Don't! Oh, no, don't hit me, mister! No! Oh!
Groan.
How'd it sound?
Groan. And you are out like a light.
And so are we, out of time. Hey.
Tune in tomorrow, folks.
We'll have a little melon while the commercials are on. Do your own thing. We'll be back. Thank you, Yuri. You have
I'm afraid to look. It won't be ready. It's ready. Catch me, I'm gonna faint. Took my transmission to AMCO. I said, how fast? They said 1 day. They said it, I got it. 1 day service.
In most cases.
I'm gonna faint.
Don't be surprised by the nice little extras at AMCO. We've serviced 4 million transmissions. We do things right. AA, MCO.
1 day service. Just in time for rush hour.
I couldn't get any service. My carpet fell apart. Who can I trust?
He should have gone to Walton, a name you can trust. Go to the people who care about you. I'm Ed Hurley, and we believe your dollar is worth more at Walton. 557 styles and colors, priced the Walton way, completely installed with padding from only $7.77 a square yard. Walton, the home of quality carpet. Go to a Walton store. To shop at home, dial carpets.
You're about to see one of the cleanest, freshest, softest faces you've ever seen. The Face. She helps keep it that way with Physoderm, the deep cleanser that leaves your skin with the 5.5 pH nature meant it to have. Physoderm not only goes deep to float out buried dirt and makeup, but it actually leaves your skin moisturized. And with 5.5 pH protection against dryness and irritation. The Face. Yours with Physoderm.
Do your basement walls leak, or do you get seepage through unsightly cracks? Put a stop to leaky basements by calling the waterproofing experts. Jet Dry Waterproofing Service at 620-1666. The Jet Dry system applies bentonite super sealer through jet pressure from the outside. No messy digging. Call Jet Dry for a free estimate, residential, commercial, industrial. Put an end to seepage and enjoy a dry, comfortable basement. Call 620-1666. That's 620-1666.
We're introducing you tonight to old-time radio, a little touch of nostalgia on graffiti. You've met the actors and actresses from old-time radio. You've heard an old radio drama, seen a script. You've checked the old sound effects. But what is there that you could collect yourself of old-time radio besides, let's say, the tapes of the program, such as Chuck Schaden does? How about the premiums? Remember when every show used to give something away? Mike Campo, my next guest, is a premium collector. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Nice to have you here.
How you doing?
Mike's a guy who's in the travel business here in the city, has his home out in Lombard, and has spent many dollars and many, many hours collecting stuff that they used to ask you to send in for. And he's brought some of it with him. These must be from Tom Mix?
Tom Mix, right.
Spurs.
The glow-in-the-dark Spurs. And the box that they came in.
Look at that, huh? Tom Mix lives again. Now, I want to know, did you get interested in this because you don't look that old, maybe you color your hair. Did you listen to all these shows and send in for this stuff, or have you collected it since?
I've listened to a number of the shows and sent in for them when they were offered, but
Is there anything
bought this
here?
stuff since.
Is there anything here that you've saved since those days?
Not
the
a
30s,
thing.
40s?
Not a thing. Not a thing. It all went into the scrap drives during the war.
Well, you've got a lot of these mugs. Are these all the same?
No, they're different. As a matter of fact, these are Captain Midnight shake-up mugs.
there
Now,
it
that
is,
one's
Captain.
from television, and this is the one from radio, where the figure of Captain Midnight is carved right into the mug.
Now, how much would they sell? Would you send in Ovaltine box tops or something to get
Yeah,
this?
they'd send it to you for nothing.
Boy, today you don't get anything for nothing.
No, that one from radio would sell for about $20, and the one from television would sell for about $10.
Now, what do you mean there's like a national organization of people who collect this memorabilia?
There are a few
and
of us
prices are established. You have meetings, get together, trade things, sell to each other, this sort of thing?
Well, geographically, we can't get together that often, but there are letters that are sent out, newsletters, for people that want to buy or sell.
This looks like a piece of junk here.
Actually, that's a top-secret Norden bomb sight from World War II, put out by Jack Armstrong, and it has a bomb in the chamber.
Oh, it does?
Yes. If you can look through it here.
Look through, okay.
All right. No, pick it up.
Well...
And turn your lever on the bottom. The bomb will fall out sooner or later.
Obvious son of a gun.
Oh, you missed. There it is.
There went the bomb.
There's the bomb.
Reminds me of the show.
And speaking of bombs, here's an atomic bomb.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Lone Ranger atomic bomb ring with the original instructions and...
Now, wait a minute. The Lone Ranger was pre-atomic bomb. Did he have something before they figured it out at the U of Chicago?
In 1946, everything was atomic bomb, even the Lone Ranger.
I guess he was still on the air in 46.
Yeah, he sure was.
Some of these things lasted through World War II, didn't they? Now, you have told me before we went on that this is your most valuable piece of merchandise right here.
Right.
And it says here there's a Captain Midnight Mystic Sun God ring from 1947. Why is the stone offset? Is it just falling out?
It's a secret compartment ring, and the secret compartment is half exposed.
Is down underneath there.
Right.
Oh, that's where you put the little message that says...
Yes, if you could find some very thin paper.
I love Susie. And wear that around. Now, this was a premium they gave away for, like, box tops.
A box top and
or maybe you
about
had to
10
send a
cents
quarter.
or so.
Yeah.
10 cents or so
10
at
cents.
that time.
I forget the old days. And here's one with a piece of movie film in it, 8mm movie film.
Yes, that's a Lone Ranger film strip ring, and the instructions for it are right in the front.
Just a minute, I've got to look at this.
Okay. You'll see the Marines in World War II.
I got one at home like this with Alice's movie in it. May I say your World War II highlights aren't as good as Victory at Sea.
I see.
A little dull.
Perhaps we should change the...
Some guys probably made fortunes coming up with these ideas. And, you know, and they'd incorporate it into the show, wouldn't they? It wouldn't be just the commercial. They'd incorporate it into the show, where Captain Midnight would use his secret message ring.
Oh, definitely.
To get a message out when he was captured or something. And then the announcer would come on and say, you too can have a secret message ring.
Oh, yes, and we too really wanted it. This is a Superman ring, and if you push that button, the jet plane will fly off.
Are you ready?
It went off. We keep the string on it so that we don't lose the jet plane.
They really ingenious little ideas. Now, I remember as a boy, and I remember very little as a boy, self-defense, the pedometers.
Yes.
Count your footsteps. You wear that on your belt. You clip it on.
Right.
This happens to be a Jack Armstrong pedometer, my dear friends. And I don't know if it worked the same as the other Jack Armstrong pedometer, but I assume it did. Did anybody else send those out? It seemed to me I got a Lone Ranger
The Lone
pedometer.
Ranger.
Yeah,
Yes, the Lone Ranger had
I
one.
remembered something. I had that.
And you usually lost it the first day because it wouldn't stay on the belt.
Now, I also asked Mike, I said, you got anything that's real junk? How could you say that, Mike?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, this is real junk. Now, not to me. Now, the WLS family album from 1952, this is when radio stations put out albums with pictures of all the people who were on in the shows. And this is when WLS was a radio station, not a television station, and was the Prairie Farmer station with all the good farm folks. Remember that? Barn dance, that kind of stuff. And we will look at this later around the halls of WLS here. Some of us will get tears in our eyes. You've also got these things here with which you've mounted up a lot of the stuff you got, Mike.
Yes, that's a complete set of Orphan Annie decoders up here. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40 here.
Did they
as
change the
manual
code every
with
year?
it. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Very important that they do that.
Mike, it's been fun looking at this stuff. Thank you for bringing it by and being with us. And I want to ask about one more thing.
That is the Shadow Blue Coal Ring, a very valuable ring.
Do you know what's going to be on our show next? Never mind, the Shadow do. We'll be back. Stay up for more of this.
Grand Elm AMC Jeep, your center for summer savings. Choose from dozens of brand new Pacers, the car everyone's talking about. Grand Elm prices have never been lower on sporty new Hornets, exciting new Matadors, coupes, sedans, even wagons, and the economical easy-on-gas Gremlin. Find the deal you've been waiting for at Grand Elm AMC Jeep, 6940 West Grand Avenue in Chicago.
Before you buy any pet collar, compare it with Sergeant Sentry 4. Of the leading collars, only Sentry 4 kills fleas for 4 full months, all types of fleas common to pets. Sentry 4 kills ticks, too, even works against Rocky Mountain spotted fever ticks. And Sentry 4 costs only $2.49. So read the packages carefully, front and back. Compare protection, compare price. You'll get Sergeant Sentry 4 collars.
Oh, Mom, get with it.
Get with it.
Yeah, quit using Dad's antiperspirant. Use Secret. It's for women.
Secret? I used that years ago.
It's changed since you used it, Mom. It's stronger.
Stronger?
Yeah, stops wetness better. And smell.
Smells pretty.
If you haven't tried Secret lately, you haven't tried Secret.
That Secret really works. Oh, and be home early. Everything hasn't changed.
Great grumbling gullet. It's Gulliver, and he is hungry. What better way to line his gargantuan gullet than with a delicious Gulliver's pizza baked in the pan? Extra thick, 2 layers of mozzarella cheese standard, served in an old English atmosphere. Enjoy Gulliver's famous pizza, or gully burgers, steaks, Italian dishes, something for everyone. Gulliver's, Milwaukee and Dempster, Niles, or 2727 West Howard in Chicago.
Great for you, but how do I get in?
Gulliver's travels with deliveries, too. Gulliver's, lunch and evening.
The nostalgia is really welling up in me now as I leaf through the old WLS book, look at the people who were on the barn dance and so on. And I have invited to sit down and visit with me for a few moments now 2 gentlemen who've been on earlier in the program, Chuck Schaden, the revivalist of old-time radio, and Yuri, why do I have so much trouble with your last name? Because it's Russian.
That's right. It's very too sexy for you.
Who made our sound effects and is the director of the Chicago Radio Theater.
Okay.
What?
Are we going to show the film?
Well, I suppose we will, Yuri, but when I get ready, I mean, I'm still the director, folks. What Yuri is doing is keeping radio alive today by every month producing a radio drama.
Roll tape.
Tape rolling.
Lenina.
You don't look very glad to see me, John.
Not glad to see you. Oh, admired Lenina. Indeed, the top of admiration. If only you knew how much I...
Yes?
how much I'd love you, Lenina. Beyond expression, beyond belief.
Oh, then, John, why? I don't understand. Why have you been so cold?
Lenina. In the Pueblo.
Finished the scene with a kiss. That's pretty dramatic stuff, huh? Did that couple end up married, Yuri?
No, she took her clothes off and then he threw her out.
See, that's modern-day radio.
It is.
Never have done that in the
That was
30s
a
and the
segment.
40s.
That was a segment from Brave New World, adapted from the Aldous Huxley science fiction novel, which won us an Ohio State Award.
You are doing a radio drama a month. They are heard on WNIB.
Well, at the moment, this next week is a busy week for us. On Monday, we're on WNIB with The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a radio version of a silent horror film. On Tuesday, we're on WFMT at 10:30 with a British play called Mathery Beacon. Brilliant, brilliant drama by this unknown, Britain's Norman Corwin, a guy named Giles Cooper. And on Wednesday at 10:30, we've started a new concept called Midnight Snack Theater. And for one performance only, we're going to be at the Courthouse Restaurant in Harper Court.
This will not be on the air. It will be done live.
No, this will be done live. And
okay, what you're telling me really is that old-time radio is alive and well and living in Chicago under your direction,
well,
probably more actively than anywhere else in the country.
Chicago, right at the moment, is, again, the heart and soul of radio drama. There are at least 3 institutions doing radio drama in Chicago, and no other city can boast more than one.
Chuck, do you identify with this, or do you find them out of step with your world?
No, they're not out of step with my world at all. I encourage it. I'm glad to see them doing it, because while we enjoy watching using the imagination, listening to the old radio shows, why not have new radio shows?
Well, you better get a hold of Yuri's tapes and save them someday. Someday they'll be the nostalgia bit.
Well, that's funny, because Chuck and I are always linked together by the press.
Yeah.
And we never feel on any kind of competitive basis that we feel that we both have to succeed. He has to succeed in order for me to succeed, vice versa.
It's you see, we're in the same area of providing imaginative audio entertainment for radio listeners.
Right.
And that's important. Somewhere along the line earlier in the show, you said everything has to be, today in radio, you said it has to be butted up against, no silence or people will turn it off. They didn't turn off the radio shows in the 30s and the 40s when there was a pregnant pause.
But it was a different society, Chuck.
Listen, they don't turn off my stuff today when I play a 1940s radio show with that pause.
Well, I'm not putting you down, Chuck.
No, I realize that. But I'm just saying you're looking at the pictures.
There's one radio station that turned you off.
Well, we have a little get-together on that now and then.
In all seriousness, I appreciate what you're doing, because it gives us all this opportunity to relive the days that our parents and grandparents lived, and some of us can recall a little bit from our own youths. But you realize we're only 10, 20 years away from your thing becoming total nostalgia. There'll be no one who remembers those days.
Well, if we keep it on the air in Chicago, there will be nothing to remember because it'll be current.
Yeah, but
radio's never going to go back in that direction. Is it, Yuri?
It's going to go back to some degree, particularly in Chicago, where it has the largest radio market in the country is here.
I don't think you'll ever have, the top-rated station playing dramas all day, do you?
You won't have one station doing it all day long, but you may have a lot of stations each doing a little bit of it, and that if you, as a listener, want to hear some original radio or old radio or something, it should be there, and it will be there.
Definitely.
We're going to keep it there.
Yeah. And anybody
Young man dedicated to keeping the past alive, and I think that's a credit. Thank you both very much for being with us. Be back.
Last Friday night, this dude shows up with 20 coats of paint. I looked at my girl Wanda, and she looked about to faint. I said, honey, just stay loose, 'cause I ain't scared of all that dough. It's knowing where to take a turn and not how fast you go. Me and my RC, me and my RC, 'cause what's good enough for other folks ain't good enough for me and my RC, me and my RC, me and my...
Here Here in northwest Illinois, just 6 miles from historic Galena, lies the Galena Territory by Brannigan. 6,500 acres of recreational land surrounding beautiful Lake Galena. Lots has happened in our second year. Come and explore, ride, hike, swim, play tennis. Be our guest for breakfast and lunch. We'll even help put you up for the night. Call CE6 6000 for your free territory vacation kit worth $30.
Oh, no doubt about it. Walter T. Silverman is good looking, but Walter's smart too. Took his transmission to AMCO, because AMCO gives you a price to okay before repairs begin. The final delivery price. Beep, beep.
Don't be surprised by the nice little extras at AMCO. We've serviced 4 million transmissions. We do things right. AA, MCO.
Ooh, what you see is what you get.
Arco American may save you up to 30% or more on your auto insurance. To see if you qualify, call ES9 4677.
And now, this is your announcer, John Coleman, speaking for the entire crew here at the WLS-TV Graffiti Penthouse Studio on the skyscrapers of the magnificent city of Chicago, overlooking the beautiful waters of Lake Michigan and wafted by the lovely breezes that come from Wisconsin and Michigan to air condition this wonderful city all summer long. Saying good night and thank you so much. This is ABC.